Hello and welcome to another Brawl video. This week my supporters on Patreon voted for Bre of Clan Stoutarm, a 4-mana 4/4 giant warrior. For 2 mana can activate, giving another target creature we control flying and a lifelink until end of turn. And then at the beginning of our end step, if we've gained a life this turn, we get to exile cards from the top of our library until we exile a non-land card, and then we may cast that card without paying its mana cost if its mana value is less than or equal to the amount of life we've gained this turn. Otherwise, we still get to put the card into our hand, so it doesn't completely go to waste. So Bre is a very nice payoff for gaining a life and a nice value engine, and the deck in general is very similar to the one I featured not too long ago, where we played Halia as our commander. Made a few changes, but if you want a more detailed breakdown, I'll refer you to that deck list, where I go into more depth about all the card choices. Of course, we do get to add a red as a secondary color, but it doesn't add a ton of cards overall. We see Lightning Helix as a nice removal spell that gains some life. Same with Flage, which we can also escape out of the graveyard to do it all over again. Lightning is a powerful life linker if it can connect, can also help us deal more damage. And then Deafening Clarion can sometimes be a sweeper or just gain us additional life. And then Angel Fire Ignition, another way to put additional +1 counters on our creatures, gain life, become indestructible until end of turn, can also set up some nice attacks. And then the Adult Gold Dragon, a hasty life-linking flyer, can also be a nice curve topper to keep enabling Bre. And then we also have a little bit more mana acceleration than I had in the Halia deck, since we are trying to cast a slightly more expensive commander, especially if it gets removed, we might need 6 mana to redeploy it, so a little bit more mana goes a long way. And then we also picked up the Abandoned Air Temple in Avatar as another mana sink in the mana base to pump up our team, but otherwise you should check out the Halia deck for more information. But for now, let's jump into some games and see how the deck does. Okay, we're on the play, facing Sméagol, Helpful Guide. Our hand is reasonable, but maybe missing some mana acceleration in case they can remove Bre. Don't have any protection either, but can start with Hawk. Turn to Excalibur, can already pick up an extra counter. Can fetch a Surveil Land. Never mind, opponent with a 1/2 reach. Wow, that's gonna stop the Healer's Hawk from attacking. That's a pretty big setback, actually. Now I can play SS Channeler. And then maybe next turn, Excalibur into Adventures Inn. Or we can just play Resplendent Angel. Deathrite is next, so less incentivized to play my fetch land now. And a Utopia Sprawl. Okay, so this is 3 to equip. So the problem here with Excalibur is that it's not very mana efficient. So I think I still just fetch a Plains, play Resplendent, and that also lets our Channeler fly, but yeah, again, this does have reach. So no attacks. But next turn we should be able to set something up. Or we can just play Bre. And Deathrite using our fetch land for mana. And a Grief, I guess, is taking Excalibur now. Talisman is next. So if I just play Bre this turn, then with Adventures Inn and the life gain from Bre, I can maybe set up Resplendent to make an Angel token end of turn. That does mean having to fetch this turn and giving Deathrite another land, which I don't love. Get Sacred Foundry in case I need more white, although with the Talisman that's unlikely to be an issue. Resplendent is triple white to activate, and this can attack. Yeah, this game would have looked a lot different without that turn 1 Sentinel. Opponents got their own fetch lane, so Deathrite was going to have extra mana regardless. So yeah, next turn I can hope to activate Bre. Fiend Artisan can tutor stuff up. Okay. So, play Adventures in. Gain life, growing the Channeler. And then we can still play Talisman. Activate Bre. Give Channeler flying. And lifelink. And then I'll have gained 5 life by the end of the turn, so then Resplendent Angel's active. And then hopefully we'll find something exciting with Bre's ability. Okay. Could have considered resolving Bre first, and this is exactly why, in case we find something that gains life when a creature enters, then the Angel could have gained 1 more life. Now the Nexus. So if their creatures die, they get a large dinosaur. Deathrite still making mana, so they can activate Fiend Artisan. But yeah, we've got skies under control now, so they need to find some reach creature, or just some removal. But yeah, holding Adventures in worked out in the end. But nope, opponent cannot find what they were looking for and scoops it up. On to the next one. Okay, we're on the play. We have what looks like a functional hand facing Tasigur, so can expect quite a bit of cheap interaction. Start with a case, turn 2 Signet. Turn 3 Bre is the plan. Opponent maybe casting a cantrip here. Or do they have a spell snare peak? We'll have a look. Now Wind Crystal's also tempting, especially if we expect some creature removal. Could just be a counterspell, of course. So next turn we can double spell Bre with a Channeler, or maybe even get the Sunmare going. Triggers off case, makes a horse. Ooh, nice. Voice of Victory, so if that resolves, our opponent can no longer cast spells at instant speed. So now we're safe to resolve Bre. Of course, sweepers are still a concern, but Bre is enabled. And we found an Exemplar, and yeah, thanks to the double life gain of Wind Crystal, we gained enough to be able to cast it. That's a lot of value. Does our opponent have a board wipe? Damnation, Toxic Deluge, yep, there it is. So that's why they were okay with the Voice of Victory resolving. And an Inquisition, so that was quite a turn for them. Luckily cannot take Crested Sunmare, so that can still threaten to take over by itself. They might go for our removal spell. Swords is gone. But yeah, don't hate Sunmare. This one's going to be trickier to resolve in future turns if our opponent keeps up counterspells. Whereas I can more easily deploy my cheaper threats. Horses are indestructible as long as we control the Sunmare. So now a Damnation would only get rid of one of our 2 creatures. They do have Unable to Scream to shut down its abilities. So no more additional horse tokens end of turn. Opponent looking to maybe delve Tasigur. So yeah, they had some pretty good interactions so far. Opponent keeping up 4 mana. Excalibur is also a good one. So I'm going to use my red mana to play Excalibur. Opponent's going to consign, countering a colorless spell. And they'll Soul Warden resolve. Okay, let's go to attacks. Opponent's got a Tidebinder, shutting down the Channeler. Could have also gone for Soul Warden. So just a 2-1 now. Do I play Healer's Hawk? Opponent's at 8. Yeah, maybe that's fine. The case is now also solved, by the way, so we can maybe get creatures back out of the graveyard. And then, with a land, we can play a Bre, gain a ton of life, get some more free card advantage. And there's Tasigur, only 1 mana. Yeah, Channeler would have been pretty large by now. Find a Signet, so can't quite play Bre. Can still attack with Horse Token and Healer's Hawk. We're also not too far from activating the Wind Crystal to fly our creatures. So I could wait. Just play Arcane Signet, attack with Hawk. Opponent's gonna Fatal Push. Does mean they can no longer activate Tasigur for 4 mana. So that's a small victory. Could also decide to sack the case. And then... yeah, I can replay Voice of Victory for 1 mana. And then still play Exemplar of Light. Actually feels worth it. If Voice resolves, they can no longer play their counter spells. This will draw a card right away. And drew Radiant Fountain, which isn't bad, although a white source for Healer's Hawk might have been slightly better. So yeah, we'll see what they can do. They did leave Toxic Deluge in the graveyard for Tasigur, but we don't have to give it to them. And yeah, opponent scoops it up, could play Bre, Voice stops them from countering, and then can probably just win with our flyers. On to the next one. Okay, we're on the draw, facing Tiamat, 5-color dragons. My hand could have been decent with an extra land or 2. As is, even if I find a second land, I still need a third before I can really get going. This is a bit more balanced. We will need to be off to a quick start against Tiamat, because once they cast their commander, the game can end pretty soon thereafter. We don't have the fastest opener. Turn 2 we can maybe Surveil. Filling the graveyard's also useful for Flage. Signet, so nothing we can really interact with at the moment. Don't need more lanes. Cat Collector will immediately make a token. Probably gonna see another ramp spell from our opponents. Yep, the orb giving dragons haste. So they won't quite get to Tiamat mana next turn, but they're getting close. So yeah, for right now, I think I like the Cat Collector over Flage. And then with Bre, we'll immediately gain life to potentially find a spell we can cast for free. Could also run out the Radiant Fountain, just to improve our odds of being able to cast whatever we reveal. And Angel of Destiny is not a bad alternate win condition if our life total's high enough. Can also win us the game. Now the Dragon Speaker giving dragons a 2-mana discount into a Gruul Signet. So yeah, Tiamat's definitely happening. Yeah, I think I just hope for the best here, unless, let's see, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, even without the Shaman, they can cast Tiamat. Could still use Flage to take out the Shaman, so they can go Tiamat into another dragon on the same turn, which is reasonable. Yeah, maybe that's still worth it. Just go Flage, play Healer's Hawk, and then... we're still not going to be escaping Flage anytime soon. Could run out a fetch land in case we draw more to fill the graveyard for an escape. but at the same time I may want to keep my life total high for Angel of Destiny. Alright, opponent's still unable to play Tiamat since I didn't have a land. So that worked out. And this turn, yeah, I'm kind of liking Angel of Destiny with Savior to make it indestructible next turn. And this seems like a fine turn for a Radiant Fountain as well. Hawk can attack. So yeah, next turn Angel threatens to just win the game. Could have maybe kept Healer's Hawk back to chump, because Sarkhan can turn into a Tiamat. We need 50 more than our starting life total, so in Brawl that's 40. Pretty sure we can get there. Especially with the Selfless Savior being able to protect the Angel. So Tiamat deciding which dragons to find. Does also have haste off the orb. So I guess with 2 Tiamats attacking us, it might be a little harder to get to 40 life. So if I sack Savior, sack the fetch lanes, I'm still not quite at a point where I can escape. I do have a food token I can sacrifice, and we can play Bre. How much damage are we talking about exactly? So this is at the beginning of the end step. I can even get a Bre effect first. So if we're going for alternate win condition, I think this is the play. Sack the food. Attack all out. And yeah, we're at 42, but I can resolve Bre first on the off chance that we find something else that can gain life. Mother of Runes triggers Veteran. So we had a couple points to spare. On to the next one. Okay, we're on the draw, facing 5 color shrines. I think we've got a keeper. Sheltered by Ghosts can also answer their enchantments. Turn 2 Signet, turn 3 either Bre or Exemplar, with Sheltered by Ghosts and Ignition for life gain. And get to Surveil. And a Speaker's not bad, since I can play it alongside Arcane Signet next turn. So if they feel inclined to attack with the Naturalists, maybe we can sneak in an attack with the Speaker. Since Hei Bai is not an enchantment, so they can't run that out. They did have a Nessian Wanderer, so that will get in the way. Still probably Bre over Exemplar now. Could also Sheltered by Ghosts, but I think we save that one. Let's go Bre first. And then next turn there's a chance we can get some free value already. Ooh, Panharmonicon to double triggers. That's the type of card that I wouldn't mind getting rid of. Although now Deafening Clarion also looks quite good. I think I do want to just Deafening Clarion right now. And then I can still Sheltered by Ghosts, get rid of Panharmonicon. The lifelink is a bit redundant, but we now get to potentially cast a 5-drop for free, and that's where our curve tops off. Sarah Ascendant, still decent, despite being a 1-drop. We're close to growing it. Opponent goes for Hei Bai. It's some mana acceleration. Flash close to dealing with Hei Bai. Now, Exemplar. And then I can still activate Bre, fly the Ascendant, and gain a life and get a counter. Or with Flage I can grow this, even if we're not finishing off Hei Bai. And this one probably wants to name Giant, which is fitting because it also casts our commander. Yeah, I guess Flage plus Ignition's not bad. And then I can just go face. An attack for 13. And once again can cast whatever we find. And Swords to Plowshares seems worth it in case our opponent has some flicker shenanigans. And that'll do it. Awesome. On to the next one. Okay, we're on the draw, playing the mirror match. So Sarah Ascendant, normally a card I would be very happy with in my opener, but I don't think it's going to have an easy time attacking early on. Prefer a hand with a bit of mana acceleration so we can get Bre down sooner. And this will do. Turn 1, maybe Speaker can get an attack in. Although might want Giver of Runes in play before we play Bre. Opponent with her own Signet. So I could go Talisman plus Excalibur so it can immediately grow. Or I can prioritize Giver of Runes to protect my Bre. Do have swords for the opponents. Yeah, I think the protection's probably more relevant. And then Angel of Destiny could be our win condition. Right, opponent did not have an untapped land, so goes for Joshua. But keeps their hand as is. I think I still like Bre. A Ajani can make a token, but I won't be gaining life to grow it right away. And then we'll keep Giver of Runes available as opposed to sneaking in for one. Even though that could have enabled Bre to maybe find another 1-drop. Secret Rendezvous, fair enough. Those are some good cards. And they're gonna Swords the Giver. Untap, find the Lightning. Did not find a land in all those draws. So what are my options here? Have quite a few. Could go Mind Stone to keep developing my mana and then still play Lightning. Although it's another turn where we're not enabling Bre. Might want to get the Mother of Runes down as soon as possible. So I could go Mind Stone, Excalibur, Mother of Runes, and then still have swords up. And then I guess attack for 4. And Guide of Souls is fine. Zora, so opponent's gonna gain quite a bit of life here. And Bre, which I think we will swords, although they can recast it for 6 mana next turn. It's gonna gain the opponent even more life, so we're helping. Alright, now Faithmender to double our life gain. Still missing a way to gain life when stuff enters, which would have been ideal. And Ajani can be a way of gaining life with the plus ability, but that's the only play I would be making. Excalibur doesn't have any counters yet. Maybe I just cast the Angel of Destiny to get that going. And then next turn we're not going to struggle to gain life. But yeah, it feels like we're kind of wasting Bre's ability. Can always activate Mother of Runes on speaker, naming white to get an attack in, but it's only going to gain me 1 life. I'll go for Angel. Opponent can replay Bre and potentially find something. Wind Crystal's not bad either. And a Resplendent, so opponent will get to make an Angel token since they're doubling the life gain of Wind Crystal. Or never mind. I guess they need 5. Yeah, they were 1 short. How much life do we need? We need 40 to win the game. Can I just win right now? Cleric class, attack, Ajani plus. Does that get there? Have to be getting close. Either way, it sets up speaker to maybe activate at 32 or more. Can also double my life gain with Faith Mender. But having an Ajani in place seems slightly better. Unless I can guarantee it here. Yeah, you know what, let's go Faith Mender. And then kind of like Speaker Pro White. Just for the extra life gain, since that's now the only thing that matters. Alright, we're at 40 life, so should just win with the Angel now, but let's see what Bre finds first. Also interesting, I guess the opponent's Resplendent Angel still triggers, since we gain them life with our Angel of Destiny, so that's a pretty funny interaction. But yeah, Angel of Destiny wins the game. On to the next one. Okay, we're on the play, facing Sutina, so an Elves deck perhaps. Can search for a basic. When it attacks, return a land to hand, maybe more of a landfall deck. We do get to start with a Leyline of Hope in play, so that's always exciting. And then start with a Cleric class. Mountain will make Air Temple enter untapped. And we do have a Fateful Absence available. Alright, Medallion I wouldn't be able to destroy. For now, Resplendent Angel. Currently missing a way to gain life to enable Breathe, a turn we player. Still gonna run her out here. Attack for 3, and then next turn with Valkyrie. We could be in business. So we get to back up onto Bre, which will maybe help us gain 5 to make another Angel token. Opponent is indeed more of a landfall deck. And then what to name here? Giant or Warrior? I guess we've got multiple Warriors. Play Valkyrie. And then we're also going to get to pump our team with a Leyline of Hope. And then first resolve Bre, then the Angel. Yeah, in case we find something like a Veteran. Not the most exciting hit, but I'll still take it. So we've got a pretty impressive board state. Opponent at 12. Can hopefully win in the air next turn. Fate from History, fair enough. That will blow up our Leyline as well, shrinking down my team. And now the Great Henge can give them some more life. Opponent's at 14. Of course we can activate Bre to give something flying, although our biggest creatures already fly. Don't know if I need to do anything. I guess Air Temple gives us extra counters. So that would be 14 exactly. Alright, works for me. Although sadly don't get to see an additional Bre trigger end of turn. On to the next one. Alright, we're on the draw, facing Ratadrabik, known for setting up some nasty infinite combos with the tempted by the ring mechanic, so it's quite fitting that we have the One Ring. Don't hate this hand, we've got some early enablers, can maybe trigger Bre the turn we player, but I may need to find some removal spells to deal with Ratadrabik. Soul Spike only able to take non-creature and non-land cards. Takes our One Ring, although Voice of the Blessed goes pretty nicely with Guide of Souls and Sanctifier. Blood Witch is the opponent's win condition, but we did find Flage. Yeah, I think we get the Voice going. And then next turn we have the option of using Flage, still triggering Voice. Or we can get a Sanctifier down, especially if we draw another 1 or 2 drop. Connoisseur is their sacrifice outlet, so now they're looking to play Ratadrabik, and then anything that helps them tempt a ring when it enters a battlefield, such as the various Nazgul. That's how they can set up the infinite combo, as it will keep coming back, and they can keep sacrificing it over and over. So, yeah, we need to get rid of one of their things here. Maybe the sacrifice outlet is harder to come by than the creature, so then I can go for Connoisseur. Although if they sacrifice it to itself, I guess it doesn't matter. They can fizzle the life gain, so then we don't gain life with Flage. So maybe this turn I do actually prefer Sanctifier plus an Iron Crag. And then we'll see if Flage lines up next turn or not. Can always go face, and then they don't get to fizzle the life gain. But yeah, there's Ratadrabik. An attack would be ambitious. But now what I can also do is pay the ward on Ratadrabik using Flage. So that's probably the move. Pay the ward. Opponent should sack it to the Connoisseur, so we don't gain the life. Yep. And that's alright. So now it's going to be 6 mana to redeploy. So we might have bought ourselves a lot of extra time. And the next turn Bre is looking good. Voice already flies. And we're close to flying another creature with our Guide of Souls. The nerfed version here, otherwise it only takes 3 energy. So we'll see. How close are we to escaping Flage with a fetch land? Would still need a couple more cards. But yeah, there's a Nazgul, so if they have untapped land for Ratadrabik next turn, they can still combo off. So, yeah, need some help off the top, basically. You get to play Bre. We'll use the Guide of Souls, flying the Sanctifier, perhaps. Transforming Iron Crag doesn't seem worth it yet. So this is an attack for 11. Bre triggers. Can maybe still find a removal spell. a talisman instead. Alright, I think we're dead. They need the untapped mana that doesn't cost them more than 2 life, but they already played a Godless Shrine. Yeah, there it is. I Ganja into Ratadrabik, and that should be game over. Opponent's gonna let us untap, but... well, now we did draw Solitude. Does that matter? Opponent can go off at instant speed, but I guess it doesn't hurt. Maybe while the Nazgul is temporarily gone, there's a window for me to do something. Well, let's just move to attackers. So, opponent sacks Nazgul to Connoisseur, triggers Blood Witch. So now, while the Nazgul's gone, I can respond with Solitude, exiling either Blood Witch or Connoisseur works. Or I can go for Ratadrabik, pay the ward. It's probably good enough. So yeah, opponents kinda threw a little bit, since they could have just gone off in their turn before I got the removal spell in my draw step, but they were maybe afraid I had some 1 or 2 mana interaction available. But yeah, it worked out for us. On to the next one. Alright, we're on the draw, facing Sami. Affinity for artifacts. Once they get it down, can expect some early ramp and then some powerful finishers. This hand is not the worst. Having Solitude as free interaction could help. Still lacking some good 2 mana play, whether it's a ramp artifact or some of our other life gain creatures. Alright, Boots will do. Although I'm not going to be able to attack with Heliod. Opponent's got the Zookeeper. Could consider removing it with Solitude, although feels a little unnecessary here. So yeah, I'll go for the Greaves. Hit for 1. And Tazzeret's next, so that can find some cheap artifact. And that in turn is also gonna give Tazzeret an extra loyalty. Mox Opal's a good one. They still don't quite have Metalcraft. Lightning was a great top deck, since now we can attack Tazzeret. One of the main drawbacks of Lightning is that it doesn't have haste, but now it does. So, both at Tazzeret. I guess we can send Lightning at their face. Bat at Tazzeret, and then if they don't jump, Bat would deal double damage. Could still decide to Solitude. Is that worth it? We get rid of a Planeswalker. Make it harder for Metalcraft. Nah, I'll let damage happen. Keep my Solitude in hand for now. And then don't need the Adult Dragon, we need an extra land. Alright, Ugin's Labyrinth can potentially give them extra mana, but they didn't have anything to pitch to it. And now a Solemn, also a good one to potentially exile. This time Lightning is guaranteed to hit the opponent, so then the Bat can finish off Tazzeret. Although I guess they still get an activation, so that will give Solemn an extra +1 counter. Alright, so now with the lands, how does that change things? I guess Heliod could work, because with First Strike we'll get an extra +1 counter on the Bat. that seems okay. Although Exemplar was also tempting here. Opponent's gonna let damage happen. +1 counter has to go on the bat because of Shroud. It's not hexproof. And now we get an extra counter once again. Pass a turn. Mind Stone will enable metal crafts. Do I want to intervene? I think that's still fine for this turn. And a chainsaw can deal with a Rune Lurker bat. Playing Solitude wouldn't change that fact. We're not gaining life when it enters. Alright. And now Solemn's equipped. That's okay. Find a veteran. So, good options. Could go for Bre, give her haste, attack, get quite a bit of damage in, trigger Bre's ability. And then I can still decide to Solitude, maybe pitching the veteran. Yeah, I don't hate that. Counter has to go on lightning. And then I can put a end step stop here. See what we find of Bre. Deafening Clarion. Would get rid of the Solemn. Would also get rid of lightning. Don't think that's worth it. Can cast it just for the lifelink mode. Just to put an extra card in graveyard, which could matter if we draw Flage, for instance. So, I think I do Solitude the Solemn now. Although I guess they would still have Metalcraft regardless. So, you know what, let's just let our opponent untap. They can play Sami, which I could Solitude, but not before they play a Karn. So they could have some other 4 or 5 mana artifacts that they get to play for 1 or 0 mana. Which I could now Solitude in response. I think I just let this go. Karn minuses, makes a token. Power Stone is acceptable. 1 card left in hand. Immortal Sun, shutting off Planeswalkers, including Karn. Okay, that was a pretty good turn for them. But I think we'll manage. So this is probably a turn where I should use some removal spells. Although they can replay Sami pretty easily now between all the mana artifacts and the discount from Immortal Sun. So maybe we just try to win in the air now. Before the opponent takes over, meaning Exemplar. Can give it haste. A lightning probably doesn't want to attack anymore, because their opponent's got a double striker on defense. Although maybe I should just use Solitude on Sami. So lightning can attack. Heliod's now also a creature. So, yeah, this is actually a close call. I think I go for it. Maybe prefer Healer Sock as another flyer. Let's get rid of Sami. Can grow Heliod's, since Exemplar has Shroud. Back to the command zone. And then Exemplar needs to cross the finish line. which should not be too difficult. Again, Karn cannot activate because of Immortal Sun. And we can get our Devotion back between Giver of Runes and Healer's Hawk. Bonus digging with Mindstone. Finds another artifact land, replace Sami. Palantir doesn't matter at this point. GG's, so looks like Exemplar will get there. So good to see this red-white lifegain deck in action, and yeah, Bre's a pretty fun value engine. Not sure if this deck is necessarily better than the mono-white alternatives, but overall, if you want to mix things up a little bit, splashing red for Bre and some of your other lifegain effects can be worth it. So yeah, that's going to do it for today's gameplay. Want to thank you for watching, hope you enjoyed, and as always, have a nice day.